Women, money, and anything that involves a competition, status, a skill, a game, a sport. When you have these three things, you should be wary of other men. And you should be wary of them being nice to you. And especially when they try to be too nice. Hey guys, Hector Castillo-Poppy from girlschase.com. Today we're going to talk about friendliness and when guys that you meet in various scenarios are too friendly with you and what that might mean. And the reason why it's important to know how to navigate these social situations is because it's going to affect possibly a girl you're talking to if, for say, you meet a guy friend of hers and you want to figure out what his intentions are, and how he's treating you, and if this niceness is just a veil and he's actually kind of dissing you and kind of being a dick, but you can't see it through the veneer of niceness. If you are just making friends and you want to see who would make a good friend and who wouldn't make a good friend. Or if you're just out and about, let's say you're at a party and you don't know everyone there, and some guy is being overly nice to you, what that could mean. So we'll go through a few different scenarios, but these are all important to understand because your social status does matter. People's opinions of you matter when you're dealing with other people, right? You can't come from this place of, I literally give zero fucks what people think, because then you're probably not going to make a good socializer. It's a nice soundbite to say, oh, I don't give a fuck, right? But if that were true, like in the extreme, let's just give a stupid extreme example, and then obviously we'll tone it down. Like if you didn't give a fuck what people think, you'd walk out naked, if you felt like being naked or something, right? I know it's a very extreme example, but I'm trying to frame that caring what people think is to a certain point important. Obviously it's illegal to walk around fucking naked, right? So let me think of something like, okay, go out and dress like shit, don't shower, right? It's not illegal to do this, but maybe people will think you smell, or, they won't judge you so well based on the way that you express yourself and how you dress and how you walk or how you talk. You could watch this and say, who cares what people think? People should just like you for who you are. But if you want things from other people, now relationships aren't purely transactional, but there are transactional elements to a relationship, right? You're getting something out of it, emotions, connections, sex, if it's a sexual relationship, value in they're an intelligent person to talk to, so you learn things when you talk to them. They have a certain skill that you respect and you like to learn more about that skill from them, right? So there are transactional elements to relationships. It's not purely some sociopathic, capitalistic, transactional thing, but there are elements to it, right? So you do need to care to a certain extent what people think. So taking it a step further, your status, which is literally just everyone's individual opinions of you, kind of conglomerate into one little, or one big bubble of, what we call your reputation. So you do need to take care of how people are treating you, because they are going to witness how you let them or don't let them treat you. And then other people are also going to be paying attention to that. And they're going to have a certain level of respect for you based on what you allow others to get away with, right? So being nice, when people are really nice to you, on the surface, of course, they're just being nice. But what it seems to be is not always what it is. So I'm sure that I'll give you a real example that'll kind of start to frame this in a much more concrete light. You've probably encountered a guy who you meet him and he's too friendly in one particular aspect that I think all guys are going to understand. When you have a guy friend, we insult each other. It's a thing that we do, right? Girls, as a stereotype, are nice to your face and then shit talk you in the back. Whereas guy friends, they shit talk you to the front, but then when you're gone, they speak well of you. What's up, motherfucker? What's up, bitch? We talk to each other like this. And I have some theories on why that is, but it's not important. You understand that guys are like this. With your friends, you insult each other. And I think what the communication is that I know you have my best intentions at heart, so this insult isn't an insult. It's you having fun. Now, the problem when a guy you don't know too well tries to tease you, even, it's not even an insult, but teases you, maybe makes a joke with you, maybe makes a joke at your expense in front of the other people. When he does that too quickly and you haven't yet become friends, what this assumes is that this guy thinks that he's closer to me than we are. And this could, for me, the way that I interpret it is that he thinks that my friendship is so easily bought, that he can just assume we're already friends. Now, there have been guys in the past who I just click with immediately, and they had the social intelligence to know that we were on that level, even if we just met maybe like 10 seconds ago, and we had that camaraderie. But I also think there's a certain level of levels to this. So hierarchies do exist, right? There are certain social levels. They have different dynamics, like the gamers might not care about your physical skills, or, the sports guys might not care if you're good at games. Of course, it's not that clear cut, these kind of cliches of the gamer or the jock, and they're not 100% true, right? I know the most like jockish fucking meathead that I know is also like as addicted to gaming as I am, and he's fantastic at some games. So it's not so clear cut, but it's just an example of how like the gamers may not care if you can bench a certain amount, but the guys who are like, go to the gym a lot, that's something that they respect because it's something that's important to them, but they don't give a shit, what your MMR and Dota is, okay? So value can be relative, but there is a such thing as social value in this world. And so when a guy teases you, what he's assuming is that we're equals, give or take, right? And your equals are your friends, right? And your superiors are people that you learn from, your teachers, your mentors, or people who are just farther in life in respects that you actually give a shit about. And then your subordinates are people who are possibly your students, your mentees, or just people who aren't on your level socially, right? So if you don't even understand that there's hierarchies in this world, then maybe you need to start on some different videos. It's kind of a premise that I'm starting with. But a guy who teases you too quick, he's assuming we're on the same level. He's assuming we're cool like that too. So it's a level thing and a familiarity thing, okay? And so when a guy is too quick to be nice like that, I get weirded out. I'll usually clam up and get cold. Like, we were cool, we were talking, and then he makes a joke. Now, whether it was well-intentioned or not is important, and I'm gonna think about that in the few minutes after, where I'm gonna be thinking, what did he mean by that? I'm gonna see his behavior. I'm gonna watch if, in a social interaction, let's say it's me, him, and some hot girl at the party. I don't know this guy, I just kind of met this girl, and he makes a joke at my expense. Like, I remember one time, I was out at a club in Romania, in Constanța at the seaside, and we were just there for one night. We went out to a club, and I saw some girl pass by me. I was like, hey, you're really cute. And she's like, oh, hi. And immediately we clicked. She's like, hey, let's go smoke a cigarette. Grabbed my hand, pulled me outside, and we're talking outside. And I go to light up a cigarette. We're sitting by this car, and this dude who was standing in front of us with his friend, he had peeped us when we first walked by, and he turns towards us, and like he was there like super quick, so he must have been really keeping an eye on us. As soon as I got the cigarette out, he's like, hey man, here. And he walks up and he gives me a light. Now, I've been in these situations. I knew he was immediately gonna start trying to jump in. Because dudes like this, they're probably not ballsy enough to go approach girls. But if they see a situation where they can kind of use the guy to get in with the girl and maybe like make the guy look bad, then he can try and get with the girl. And that's exactly what fucking happened. And I knew just because I've seen these situations before and I have the instincts for it. So he gives me the light. I'm like, hey, thanks, man. And I turn to talk to the girl, and then he immediately starts asking me questions. Oh, where are you from, man? Oh, I'm American. Da, da, da. He's like, oh, cool, man. What are you doing in Romania? So he's being nice, right? He offered me a light, polite. He's asking me questions, polite. But there's a hot girl involved. And whenever there's a hot girl involved, you should have like sirens go off. Be like, okay, it's a toss-up on this guy's intentions. Probably not even a toss-up. It's probably like a 70-30 that his intentions are not the best in the world. So he starts talking to me, being nice, and then at some point, I can kind of feel his attitude shift, because at certain points he starts talking to the girl and he talks to her in Romanian because they're both Romanians. And that also gives me, it's a rude thing, right? Unless they knew each other, like it's a rude thing. Like he speaks a language that I don't speak, only like barely know some phrases and some words that I picked up over the years. And he starts talking to her. So it's like a moment where I'm shielded out. But, you know, I play it cool. I'm like, whatever. But then we start talking about, I think he asked me, you know, I look a little different, you know, where are my parents from? I tell him my dad's from Chile. And we start talking about South American culture or something. And then he brings up ponchos and sombreros. And it's whatever. I'm just used to it. And at some point he makes a comment about ponchos and sombreros not being specifically Chileno, like they're Mexican. And I explained to him that no, they're not, you know, I'm not even mad about it. It's not like he should know this. He should know every fucking culture, every detail. But I explained to him. And when I explained to him that they do have sombreros in Chile and ponchos and it's a thing, he kind of shifts. Like he's like, you know, I don't believe that. Like, I don't think that's true. And the moment he did that, told me his intentions weren't good. Because you should assume that maybe I know a little bit more about this than him, right? So if someone were to enlighten me about a similar subject and the roles were reversed, I would go, oh, interesting, right? But if I'm trying to make this dude look bad in front of this girl that I want to fuck, but I was too much of a pussy to go approach her, I'm just trying to steal it now, right? I don't want to work for it. I just want to steal someone else's work. Then, you know, I would try to make him look bad. So by disagreeing with me over something really stupid, he's trying to show he's better, right? So started off being nice. Alarms were raised in my head for good reason. And then he showed his true colors and he showed his cards. And immediately when this happened, I was kind of like, when I first got the light, I turned towards her and then I, you know, answered his question, where am I from, da-da-da. And I would entertain him, but I kept, you know, occasionally turning to the girl. And if he had good social skills, if he was actually being nice for the sake of being nice, he would have picked that up. Or maybe he didn't have good social skills. Maybe he was being nice and had good intentions, which guys have done in the past before. So this is kind of the complexity of it. I've had guys clueless as to that they should leave me alone and I'll go talk to them later if I want to talk to them. But then he revealed that it wasn't cluelessness that was driving his insistence on talking to us. It was bad intentions. At this moment where he was trying to make a big deal over something really fucking stupid about culture. And the moment he did that, I went, confirmed that he's a fucking snake. And I turned to her and I'm just like, yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So now he's trying to make me look bad in front of the girl. Now I'm going to address her specifically and tell him, I'm going to double it. I'm not just making him look bad. I'm like purposely telling him that he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And then at that point, he keeps trying to engage. And like for the next like 30 seconds, it's super awkward because like I'll give him like a look, but now I'm not even turning towards him. I'll just look him here and then look back and keep talking to her. And I would assume that he would get the message, but he kept going. So more seconds passed by. I think he might have said one or two more things. And then I turned my body completely towards her. And then I might have actually put an arm around her. And then I just engaged with her. And if she likes me enough, and this guy hasn't done a good enough job to get her attention, to AMOG me, alpha male of the group, it's an old pickup term, you know, to kind of look like a boss in front of me. If he didn't do a good enough job of that, then she's going to pay attention to me and still be locked in with me. And that's what happened. She stayed locked in, and then at some point, he's just like awkwardly turned around and went back to his friend, as he should have fucking done because he's a fucking snake. And then we kept talking. We went and got dinner somehow at 4 a.m. There was something open. And then we went back to our apartment and we fucked. But I knew that this was a sketchy situation the moment where he went out of his way to be nice. Because I think most people are average. I think that, you know, if we want to get into an argument of people inherently good, inherently bad, it's very difficult to say that, but I'd say that most people are just pretty average. They're not exceptional people in regards to their moral character, but most people aren't shitty either, right? Most people are just average, and that means literally being average, not having a moral character on either side extremely. But when it comes to women, when it comes to a few things, women, money, and anything that involves a competition, status, a skill, a game, a sport. When you have these three things, you should be wary of other men. And you should be wary of them being nice to you. And especially when they try to be too nice. And what I mean by too nice is they're assuming a familiarity. So it's not actually niceness, but it comes off that way. Like he did with his peace offering of the lighter. When you see familiarity, maybe that's a better term here. Too much familiarity, ding, 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 something is off. And then what you do is, once someone's being nice to you, what you do is you sit back and you watch, and now, like, don't engage with them too much, because now what you want to do is be polite. Stay being polite, unless you're super certain they're a snake, just because you have your instincts, which if you do, you probably don't need this video. But just watch their behavior, then see afterwards when they slip up. If they do something to tease you, they try to talk to your girl more than you, like you were just the entry point, now he's talking to her a lot. If he starts to tease you, insults you, is too handsy with you. Okay, so let's go over some examples of how men are too nice. Teasing you, insulting you, buddy, touching you. Like when guys you meet, like they're way too much like this. And what's a really good little trick is if they're too harsh with it. Like I've known when guys are like this, when they're too harsh with it. And like they'll, you know, when they slap you on the leg, like they're talking to you, be like, yeah, man, eh. And they do it and like it's a little bit too hard. And they kind of gave away their like you're talking to some hot girl and he's hanging out with you, some guy you just met, but he was nice, da-da-da. He's like, yeah, man. And he's like talking to you and just gets a little bit too, you can feel the aggression. It seeps through because most people can't hide it. Unless they're a very high intelligent sociopath or psychopath, technically, then they're not going to be able to hide their intentions. It's going to seep through in some action. And then as a macro, when guys are nice and you have hot girls around, status being involved, or money, get worried. Get vigilant. Be aware something's going on. So you meet some girl and then you meet a guy in her friend group, right? That's his friend group. Maybe he's technically like the alpha of that group. See how he starts acting. Does he start getting very close to you? Does he try to like, you know, get very physically imposing? A lot of times we're fucking monkeys, okay? We would like to think that we're evolved beyond that and, you know, none of this shit is real, you know, we're not monkeys and, you know, we're not trying to like out-primate each other. Yes, we are. Most of the time in social situations, it's a lot of primate communication of body language, proximity, physical dominance, being close to you, being over you, putting your arm around you, being too familiar, assuming he's the alpha and he has all the friends and you're just another one of the subordinates. It does come to that level most of the time until you become friends and that kind of like unspoken agreement is there where you both see each other as equals and try to prop each other up. So then teases and insults are not taken seriously, right? So when guys are too nice, look at the situation, look at the context. If you see one of the contexts mentioned, vigilance. And then if you're still uncertain, just watch their behavior. Now what to do? Once you see this behavior, like with the example that I gave with the girl and the guy gave me the light, start to pull away and see how he reacts. Most of the time, they're gonna give up, but you're gonna have certain situations where he feels entitled enough not to do that. Let's say you're talking to a girl in her friend group. Well, he's gonna feel entitled enough to stay around and talk to her because she's his friend and they've known each other for years. You're just some random guy. So it gets a little bit more complicated what you have to do. Maybe you have to engage him a little bit. Maybe, you know, come up with some excuse to like, oh, hey, let's go grab a drink and like pull her away and see what you can do. Maybe you can try and take her home really quick. Because guys have, you know, and girls might feel pressured because you would think, oh, if she likes you, she's just going to go with you. Sometimes, sure. But sometimes she's going to feel pressured by her social circle. I had a girl one time, she was making out with me, you know, her friends are like, go fuck her, like literally take her home and fuck her. And she's like, I don't know, because there was some guy there who was being really weird with me. He kept trying to talk to me, kept making comments about me, and then he started getting really fucking aggressive. I think he just got so drunk and so angry enough, and he didn't, have any pussy in months, or maybe they used to date. Who the fuck knows, right? And he ended up like threatening to fight me. And I had never said anything bad to this guy. And he straight up like admitted, he's just like, yeah, I can't believe you fucking kissed her in front of me. He's not dating her. It's not her boyfriend. I even asked her. But he ended up trying to start a fight. I had to fucking punch the guy. And I ended up losing the girl because as soon as she told me, she's like, you need to go, you need to go. As soon as the guy got on my face for the second time, I just clocked him in the jaw. And he stumbled back a little bit. And then her friends came up immediately like, fuck you, fucking asshole, get the fuck out. And I'm like, I wasn't even the aggressor here. This guy got on my face twice. But then I lost the girl. Her friends no longer supported me. They were just telling 10 seconds ago for her to go fuck me. But she didn't want to be called a slut by this guy, because I'm sure if she went home with me, this guy's going to have a real fucking opinion of her that she just got picked up in front of me and, she knows that he likes him, da-da-da-da. So girls are going to have pressure on them if a guy in their group has some sort of influence over her, depending on how much she respects him and his opinion. Okay, so it might get more complicated. You're going to have to diffuse this guy. So let's say that this guy starts getting, maybe he's not outright aggressive, because the ones who are the best at it aren't going to be outright aggressive. They're just going to basically be social, right? And through his social skills are going to kind of show that you're not on his level. And if you're not on his level, then her going with you is a sign that she's of lower value, because she's going with an outside group that's of lower value than her group, which was demonstrated through the social interaction. He was more charming than you. You maybe started getting nervous around him. You started stumbling your words. You weren't as talkative and confident as you were. The small, subtle micro-expression changes in your body language, your facial expressions, your vocal tonality. Those things are going to be picked up subconsciously, and it's going to change how she feels. She may not be doing this actual mental equation of like, oh, new primate comes to the group. He's cool and hot. But then Mr. Alpha comes and speaks, with 7.3 level expression and confidence, and his confidence went down 3.2 microdecibels. Like, she's not going to be thinking that. She's just going to feel through, I don't know what the fuck is happening. Just she feels it intuitively, right? And then you're going to lose it. So you have to get a little more complicated with it. Maybe start being very nice and polite to the guy, but don't dim your light, stay how you are. Maybe even get more confident. Show him that this doesn't bother you. And what happens sometimes is this guy, he may be defensive and he may be competitive because he just doesn't want, maybe he's not dating this girl. Maybe he likes her a little bit. Maybe he even has a girlfriend in the group, but sometimes he can still get possessive over the friends because guys can, still want the allure of that girl liking him and some other guy taking her, even though he never has intentions to hook up with her, though sometimes he will, even if he has a girlfriend, because people can be like that. So, despite him feeling all of that, if he respects you on a certain level, he might leave you alone. I've had that happen where I could tell a guy was defensive at first, and he was a little bit aggressive, but I was just cool with him, and I didn't back down, but I didn't challenge him either. I was just very cool with him. I talked to her, I talked to him, and I guess I showed him I was a cool person and a good person. Like, I'm not trying to fight him, and I'm also on his level and on her level. And I've had guys go from being a little bit territorial and defensive to actually being really nice to me. And I could feel the change. Like, I could feel when the moment shifts and the energy shifts and the momentum shifts, and he's really cool with me and kind of gives me the seal of approval by like, hey man, you're a cool guy. It was nice meeting you, Hector, Hope you're having a good night, or hey, come do a shot with us, and actually like makes friends with me, and I can tell it's not fake niceness, like he's trying to, divide and conquer and separate me and act nice. That can happen, but I would tell when it was genuine, and the only way you can tell is by getting experience, okay? So the situations can get more complicated, but as a general rule, use those markers of what situations and his behaviors as a guiding North Star of how to deal with guys who are being too nice. And what this is going to do is it's going to prop up your social value and your reputation and people's respect for you, because they're going to see how you handle when a guy is trying to fuck with you. And the only other situation that might be added onto this is when a guy is lower value than you, and he's just being too nice because he's a leech. You know, he sees you getting girls and he just wants to be your friend and he's being too nice. These guys, you know, you're probably gonna feel a little bit of pity and you're gonna be like, you know, I used to be like that. I'd go out to clubs alone. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have that great of social skills. And I tried to hang out with people and they would like act like I'm a fucking leper and I wouldn't get in with the group. And it felt bad, and I feel bad for this guy. And you could get him in the group and treat him well and be able to like not let him fuck up your groove. That's fine, you know, I've done that before. It sounds so pretentious, like, yeah, I let this guy hang out with me, you know, he wasn't as cool as me, but, you know, whatever. But that's just kind of how it fucking is, regardless of if it's pretentious or arrogant or douchey or not. But other times, I'd just be like, I'd ignore him. You know, I'd treat him like a leper, because even though he's a human being deserving of respect and love, I'm more focused on me, okay? And I'm not gonna spend every night that I can being as generous as I can to everyone. I have my own goals, right? So I kind of gave an example of dealing with outsider snakes, social circle snakes, or guys who are just kind of being territorial, but then you can kind of push them off by showing them that they're worthy of your respect and that you're a good guy. And lower value guys, you pretty much just ignore them. When a guy's too familiar, tries to tease you and try to act like your friend, maybe he has good intentions, just you change your vibe. You go from being really nice to be like, okay, hey man, you know, yeah, cool. Hey, I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna go grab a smoke, you know. And you show this coldness, and usually he'll get the message or he'll feel the pressure and not fuck with you as much. So there's a bunch of scenarios, got a bit complicated over something so simple, someone being nice to you, but socializing has deeper, it has deeper structures to this and can get really convoluted in the moment. And the only way to really get good at this is taking this advice and actually going out and meeting people and talking to people and socializing with people and getting experience and seeing these scenarios for yourself. And then you can look back on them and be like, fuck, you know, or you do it correctly and you'll be like, oh man, I knew that guy had bad intentions, or I knew that guy was actually a cool guy who was just kind of being a douche, but I handled it right. And then I was friends with them and then I got the girl. Get experience, have fun. It's a wild game out there. Like I said, it's a bunch of monkeys trying to fuck each other and fight each other and get money and get pussy. But it has complexity to it. So it isn't just primal bullshit. There's actually a lot of high conceptual stuff going on, and I find it fascinating, and maybe you do too. But on a practical level, I hope this video helps you. I hope it helps you make some friends, avoid some snakes, and get some pussy. All right, cool. Hector Castillo, Poppy from girlschase.com. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell, go fuck yourself. I love you. I'll see you soon. Ciao.